Welcome back. You're watching the Property Guide in ET now. All of our guests are still with us, helping us make smart decisions when it comes to buying property. Now, when we go out to buy a home, especially one to live in, you really have two choices. One of which is to buy directly from the builder that's under construction, and the second is to buy a second sale home. Now, a lot of times you can also buy a second sale home that's also still under construction because it's been picked up by an investor. What we're going to do today is we're going to try and figure out what you should keep in mind when you're not buying directly from the builder. Now, the interesting thing about the way the market is right now, the difference between under construction and ready to occupy is probably the widest it's been in a very long time. What does that mean for those of us who are looking to buy homes to live in as end users? Should we be focusing on under construction, or do you think buying a ready-to-occupy home makes far more sense at this point?
The best deals come when it's about 6 months to a year to completion. You know the structure's up, the finishing is on, and you know the project is more or less in the completion phase, and that is the time when you get good deals. And I see end users picking up at that stage.
Isn't that the most expensive part of the time when it's
just short of most expensive? Once possession is given, that is when it is most expensive, and therefore people prefer to, the end users prefer to wait till the project is almost at construction possession stage and then enter, because in the last few years a lot of developers have not delivered. The end user cannot wait. He's also paying a rental there's a rental outflow he has to take care of, as well as the EMI. So I see a lot of end users buying about 6 months to possession.
So that's the best time.
That's
6 months to possession is the best time to buy. Ghulam, tell me this: when in any of the bigger markets that we talk about, location normally trumps the actual structure or the quality of construction. So if I'm buying a slightly older home or an older apartment, a lot of times I'm paying for the location that I'm in. How important is it to consider the strength of the structure, the age of the building, and whether or not it's going to hold up over time, or if it's held up over time at all?
Well, if you're talking about the strength of the building, let me tell you, as an engineer, I know that these buildings are made of good factor of safeties. The FOS that we talk about is, in early days, it used to be 3. So when it was needed to bear, say, 100 kgs, it would end up bearing 300. That was a factor of safety which we used to do earlier. So all these buildings that we have, which we are seeing, would essentially be good if it is the age is in the range of 30-35 years. It is good enough. If you're going for older buildings, while the health of the structure is something which can be a cause of concern, but on the other side, the commercial aspect of that building is very interesting, because these buildings can be can go for a redevelopment. And with the new FSI regimes, etc., you would have a complete, would I say, a jackpot that you could hit. The big upside can be the redevelopment potential if you're going for such buildings.
Well, Karthik, the interesting thing about buying a second sale home is that you have to do all the paperwork on your own because you're not buying from the builder. Tell us what we should keep in mind when we're buying second sale homes.
First of all, get a lawyer, and get a lawyer who understands how records are kept at the sub-registrar's office to ensure that you've got clean and legal title to the property. The title should be unencumbered, and the property should not be in dispute. It shouldn't be the subject matter of some kind of family feud among siblings who are fighting over some ancestral property. And hopefully a lawyer who's well versed in property law will be able to help that for you to ensure that the title you're getting is clean. Secondly, just to talk about the issue that Ghulam was talking about a moment ago about the structural robustness of the structure, I think you might also be able to get a structural engineer or a surveyor to visit the property with you and give their report on the strength of the structure and whether this is a property that's worth buying as well as taking a loan on. Thirdly, if you're actually taking a loan on the property, there's a lot of financial due diligence that the housing finance company is going to do, including sending their nominated structural engineer or surveyor to go and see whether the property actually exists, what the size, dimensions, etc. of the property are, and whether that property represents sufficient collateral and margin of safety for the lender to actually finance that property. If you aren't able to conduct a lot of this due diligence on your own and you are taking a loan, then to some extent the diligence that the housing finance company is going to conduct will be a good proxy for whether the property is title is clean, whether the structure is fine and robust, and so on. If you're buying a property in a multi-family housing unit, then you also want to understand what is your pro rata share of shared amenities and services in that structure. For instance, if there's a unit that has just 6 apartments and you're buying one of them, what is your contribution towards the annual maintenance contract of the generator set or the elevator? Who has the responsibility to renew all these contracts and so forth? All these things can affect the quality of life that you enjoy at that particular property, so that's worth checking.
All right, that's a fairly long checklist. I'm going to run it on your screen one more time if you want to write that down. That was from Karthik. Now, if you have any questions about anything you've heard so far, feel free to write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen and we'll answer your questions on the show. It's time for a very short break, but when we come back, we'll answer your questions about buying property in Bangalore and in Noida. Don't go anywhere.